You approve of that happening in your city, ma'am?
Prove it happening to my own body.
That's your body right there? That picture right there is your body? Or is that someone else's body? I kind of saw you react over there. I'll turn it away. I'm just curious, like, you kind of had a reaction.
She doesn't speak English.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And she really suffered looking at the pictures.
Yeah.
That's what she was saying.
It's pretty bad, right?
And a little boy also, so you turn that away.
Yeah, well, I turned it away. This is just an ultrasound. Like, this is what they look like before they're killed, you know? You guys think that this is like a bad thing?
Where?
Yeah. So you're opposed to abortion?
Nothing good on that.
Yeah. Well, I would encourage you actually to stand up actively against it, because like, if you're beautiful, okay.
Thank you so much.
I mean, this goes on every day. We don't want you to ignore it. That's kind of what I'm trying to say.
Hey.
What do you think about that?
It's not super classy, but
Do you think it's classy that like people go and pay people to do this to their kids?
it's just kind of a shitty way to make a point.
Is what?
I mean, like vasectomies are a good thing, right?
No.
No.
Preventing life's not a good thing. I mean, life is a blessing from God, and then like taking life that's already there is like definitely not a good thing. So like this is done behind walls where nobody can see it, and so it's all clean, and like people think, oh yeah, it's acceptable, it's just like what we do. But then you're like, no, that's actually what you do. People are like, oh, you shouldn't show that, because we don't want to see what people actually do. I don't want anybody to see what I actually support. I don't want people to see what I ignore. So we're showing you, hey man, you ignore that every day. You probably support other people doing that. And you're offended because we're showing you that you do that.
Oh no, medical procedures are a necessary part of life. I think if you're going to show gore as trying to make your point on what's an appropriate medical procedure, you might lose the people you're trying to win over.
Well,
let me ask you a question. Medical procedures generally are designed for what purpose? To heal. To heal the sick. Sure.
Would you define me chopping your arms and legs off right now as a medical procedure if I had a doctorate?
Leprosy? Definitely.
Well, do you have leprosy? I'm saying like you right now. If I was a doctor and I got my scalpel out and just started cutting you up, would you be like, hey, thanks for doing medicine on me?
I'm going no.
Okay, so you think that's a medical procedure?
Yes.
Why?
Well, it's an abortion. You're aborting him.
So what if I just cut you up with my scalpel? I was like, I'm just giving you an abortion. If I defined you as like me killing you as an abortion, would it be okay?
Well, that's the crux of the argument, right? As far as what's a human life and not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, it's a biological scientific fact that the unborn are human. I mean, they're not lizards, they're not chickens, they're human beings. You know what I'm saying?
But you know, that's like a point of contention with people. Yeah, that's not everyone's going to agree with that.
Well, that's why we're here showing you that that's a human. I mean, look, there's a human foot, human face, human arm.
I guess that's where I'm saying you're probably going to lose people, because the point you're really trying to make is what is human life? You're trying to convince people that don't believe, like a clump of cells, for example, qualifies.
What are you? Are you a clump of cells? You're just
I am made of cells, certainly.
So like you're a big clump of cells, right?
Absolutely.
So what gives you inherent value and dignity to life as opposed to a smaller human being that's a smaller clump of cells?
It's a very interesting conversation, but I'm lost in the gore. I don't think we get to have that conversation.
So so if I turn the sign around, can we have the conversation?
I don't know. We're talking. Maybe. We're
Okay.
talking about.
Well, let's try that. Yeah.
Let's see. Well, reef on a giant billboard again is distracting, but sure, I guess go for it.
So like back to the conversation, like where do humans derive their inherent dignity and like right to life from?
Inherent dignity.
Like why would it be wrong for somebody to kill you?
Why would it be wrong?
Like objectively wrong. Is it objectively wrong for someone to kill you, or is it just like wrong because the government like wrote it on a piece of paper?
Well, if I'm doing crazy harm to someone, you'd have a right to kill me if I'm.
Well, why? Why is it wrong to harm somebody?
Why is it wrong to harm someone? Okay, I'll answer that question. Because it hurts people, it causes suffering.
Why is causing suffering and hurting people wrong? Like, what are you measuring
why
that
is causing
at? What's the
suffering wrong?
standard you're measuring that against?
Well, I think suffering is objectively wrong, isn't it?
Oh, I think so, but what's your objective standard?
My objective standard for why suffering is wrong is because, let's say, you take it to the extreme. Let's say life is nothing but suffering. That's bad.
Well, everyone
That's wrong.
suffers, right? Wrong based upon what, though? Based upon natural selection? Based upon, like, that you were, like, a pond scum and you, like, evolved into a human being, and, like, the reason you did that is because the DNA you possess, like, the genetics you possess was, like, superior to the inferior genetics that, like, it killed off to get to where you are?
So,
I mean, that just is. There's no right or wrong in that, you know what I'm saying?
so I would say that suffering, and it's like suffering in its extreme, is objectively bad, at least, right? We can agree on that.
Well, I agree, but you have no foundation for that. I'm asking you, what's your foundation for that?
Okay.
So, like,
my foundation for why suffering
so,
is
like,
bad.
there has to be, like, a standard of what goodness is, right? For you to be able to define what is bad.
I take the reverse tact. I look at what's really bad to help me figure out what's really good, and the example I use of extreme suffering is where I go for, like, the worst bad. If everyone's suffering at all times for the rest of time, hell, for example, that's like the worst possible thing you can imagine, right? That's bad.
Yeah.
So I use that as my standard to say, well, okay, the least amount of suffering must be good.
No, but you can't tell me what's bad unless you know what good is.
I disagree. Can't we agree that's bad? Suffering for all eternity, forever. That's a lot. Bad.